Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We're about ready to get started right here for the Paragon Live Raid, is brought to you by Asus SteelSeries and NordraSillRadio.com. Can we have a round of applause, please, for the raiders from Paragon? So I'm joined by expert co-commentator as they start their pull on Harfus Wormbreaker. Why don't you introduce yourself for the audience today?
Hello, I'm Vidisha, and I normally play a warrior in Paragon. Now I'm currently playing my Archmage, and as you can see, it looks very difficult.
Yeah, I can't help but notice that you are pressing the 1 and 2 buttons quite a lot.
Yeah, it's that's pretty much what it's about.
Arcade
looks like aggro is getting quite tight, so need to actually switch some targets here.
Yes, now this is Harfus Wormbreaker Heroic. Now, how many of you in the audience have actually played through Harfus Wormbreaker Heroic and actually beaten him? Can we have a show of hands right here? So about 2 of you, right. So I think perhaps a bit of an explanation as to how is this different to the normal mode of Harfus Wormbreaker?
Well, basically, it's way more damage, and that's pretty much about it. This is one of the easiest heroic modes. This is like the entry-level heroic mode, so...
yeah, I believe this and Cimarron, I think, are the ones that have been killed the most so far.
I would say so. I mean, this is even doable by random pugs, and it shouldn't be too difficult.
I've also noticed on WoWProgress.com that there's a massive drop-off after this fight into Valiona and Thoralion.
Yeah, because that was actually originally one of the harder heroic modes to go on. So most of the people went there after clearing nearly whole Blackwind Descent. That's what we did as well, and that's why this is also... it's now been nerfed quite a bit, but yeah, it's still more difficult than some of the encounters which you can do other than that, so...
yeah, it's been looking extremely unpleasant, honestly, and there's not an awful lot of kills going through the Bastion of Twilight all the way through to Cho'Gall. And then, of course, we've got even fewer on Sinestra. And we're hoping to perhaps see Sinestra tonight.
Yep, should be doable. You should see it, and yeah.
Sounds good to me.
Hopefully not without too much trouble.
Yep, Time Warden down to 18% and falling rapidly right now.
Yep, there's like all of these mobs are now getting low. And after that, basically, we're going to kill the main dude, which is right here.
Now, does Harfus actually have any other abilities in heroic mode?
No. Everything is just, it's just more of everything. And, well, at first, this fight was quite, well, it gets a lot easier with gear. So, yeah. So that's basically the reason that you reckon that a lot of people have now managed to deal with it since they've geared up to the point. Definitely.
Yeah. Would you say that this kind of heroic fight is probably one of the less enjoyable, simply because they just maybe upped the stats and that was about it?
I don't know. I usually play tankier when on progress, and it was a bit better back then. So we'll see. But as you can see, there's quite big numbers now.
Yeah, no kidding. That would be 394,000 crits right there. So this is how powerful Arcane Mage really is. So you're saying it needs to be nerfed, yes?
Boss is taking 500% extra damage, so
Indeed.
It makes it look a bit ridiculous.
Yes. I can just see a few forum posters right now. It's like, oh my god, he can nerf it. He's only pressing 1 button. It's doable. Yeah, I can imagine that. It's unpleasant. There's the roar right there. And 3% falling rapidly on this one. This looks like an absolute walk in the park for you. And there we go, folks. And the most important thing is, did you get any decent loot?
I don't know, really. There is some need presses, which means that someone actually has needed something. So, yeah, I guess something was needed.
Well, there we go.
Not for me.
Yeah, are you running with alts at the moment?
Well, there is about 50-50 alts and 50-50 mains. Since we're still gearing up for Firelands now, so yeah, that's why we're doing it. So in case we do wipe, we blame the alts.
Okay, fantastic. Well, yeah, we'll blame the alts for the wipes, folks. So we're going to do some trash pulls right here, and in the meantime, I think it's probably a good idea to maybe have a little bit of a talk about the Firelands, because no doubt you have done it. So first thing, feel free not to answer this if you don't want. There's been a rumor floating around that you have a private test realm from Blizzard. Is that true?
No.
There you go. Rumor has been answered.
That's really not true.
There we go. So you have, of course, tried the Firelands on the PTR. So
yeah,
what are your initial
just like
impressions?
everybody else.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We've been having a bit of issues with the European, as all the Europeans, since most of the stuff actually is happening properly on the US, and yeah, that's basically the thing. So.
Yeah, anyone that's actually tried the PTR. In fact, can we have a show of hands? Anyone that's bothered to try Firelands on the PTR on Europe? That would be no one. Yep, one. You've got a lot of patience. That's all I can say. Yeah, we had a lot of problems with the PTR client, and it ended up being a case of repeated disconnections over and over and over again on, well, both US and EU, really, but mostly EU.
Yeah, well, Blizzard just likes to do things for the US like better. Somewhat understandable, but on the other hand,
well, to be fair,
most of the top guilds are
European,
from
exactly.
Europe. Yeah,
so they should perhaps be actually catering to that. Well, yeah, I'm actually trying to come up with a really competitive guild on the US side right now, and I've been out of the rating scene a little while, but I'm actually coming up short.
I see.
I can't think of one.
Well, there is Premonition, which is they got one world first during this content, and yeah. It should be.
Remind me how many world firsts you actually got in Tier 11.
Sorry, what?
How many world firsts did you get in Tier 11?
We didn't gain from 3 bosses, so that would be, well, yeah, nearly from everything.
Not bad.
We didn't get world first from Chimaran, didn't get from Maloriak, and didn't get from Cho'Gall. And yeah.
Yeah. I would recommend putting on the combat log or disable whispers. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah, it looks like people are going wild now that they're on the screen.
Trollolol.
Yeah, indeed.
That's their definition of trolling, unfortunately. It's probably why the forums are so boring. Now, I've got to ask exactly your opinions on heroics particularly. Another impression that seems to be floating around from a lot of people is that the 10-man heroic content was not properly tuned. What would you say to that? Would you say that that's an accurate assessment?
Well, I don't really know about that, but I would say that there is quite huge differences in 10 and 25-man.
And do you think that perhaps the differences between those two, I wouldn't say levels of content,
well,
but those...
basically, the main difference is that when there is like a lot of stuff that you need to avoid, it's so much easier in 10-man than in 25-man because you just have so much more room in general. I guess that's the major problem.
That's fair enough. People also argue the other way around, that in 10-man, you can't really afford a death.
Yeah, that is true. 10-man is harder from some parts. For example, the last boss, Sinistra, I do believe it was way harder on 10-man than on 25-man at first. But also gear and stuff on 10-man makes much bigger of a deal than on 25-man. But it's also harder to obtain gear on 10-man than 25-man.
Yeah, and that's, of course, because you get more drops, and I believe you also get more Valor as well.
Yes. And also, the loot tables are the same, so when, like, 10 items drop, there's a bigger chance that you get the items you need, rather than how it is on 10-man right now.
Yeah. Okay, Valiona and Thralian coming up right now, ladies and gentlemen. The second boss of the Bastion of Twilight on Heroic mode, and this is where there's this massive drop-off between those who've killed Harfus and those who have killed Valiona and Thralian. Do we have anyone in the audience that's actually killed this one in Heroic mode? He is the only good player in the audience right there. There you go. Fantastic. I thought we just plays too much, one way or the other. So... Valiona and Thralian, obviously this is a completely different setup to Harfus Wormbreaker. It's not just, they haven't just upped the stats. So what are the key abilities that people have to look out for right here that are going to be completely different?
Basically, they need to go downstairs to deal with sentries that spawn, and they're nuking people upstairs as well. So that's the main deal. Also, of course, the numbers. But the main deal is that, yeah, you have to deal with that stuff.
Here's the poll, ladies and gentlemen. We'll find out exactly what happens on this one. looking forward to seeing these sentries in action. Not a fight that I've had the chance to do. I know my guild's, I believe, 10 out of 12 heroic, but I haven't actually bothered to raid with them. I don't have the time. There's the blackout right now. We wouldn't want to mess up something that simple.
I should really be moving in, but I won't this time.
Okay, then. Yeah, they should be able to survive that. So, 25 man, and on heroic, how hard does the blackout actually hit?
Well, I don't know really, but if one person is there alone, he's dead.
Yep.
So, yeah. That's all I really need to know. You're supposed to stack up on it, and since we are quite well geared, you can afford some sort of slack when it comes to this kind of stuff every now and then.
Yep, seems reasonable right there. We're just waiting for the phase change coming, which I would think would be fairly soon. The fireball's coming down right there. I'm trying to remember, did they... Yeah, those fireballs look fairly painful. That's just random raid damage, I assume.
The sentries right there to the left of Valiona, as you can see a glowing ball, they are basically the sentries that are underground, which need to be killed underground.
Underground?
So,
and how exactly do you kill them? Sorry, on the ground or underground?
You take a portal to go underground at the moment. Our tank now has 4 stacks of this thing. He's going to get ported down. You get ported out from this dazzling destruction as well if you get hit. And then you need to basically get up.
All right, so
if you're not meant to go there.
Yeah, that's the Twilight shift, isn't it?
Yeah, there's assigned people who are going down, killing. Like you can see now, Devil is going down. He's got the debuff. There's also Xenofix. There's Diamond Tier. There's Peaches. And they are basically dealing with the stuff downstairs.
Right, fair enough. So yeah, those of you who have played the original of this one, the normal mode, you'll know that if you get hit by Dazzling Destruction, you will end up in the Twilight, and you have to
And now this is, engulfing magic. I'm going to show you some numbers now, like.
Arcane Mage, clearly Imber right here.
100% damage increase right here, but doing huge damage to people around me if I do hit them. So it's a bit tricky.
Yep, got to be careful about that on the normal mode as well. So, as I said before, going into the Twilight shift.
Getting Meteor, so moving into the melee.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't kill myself.
Yep.
Actually, this is a bit tricky now because I'm raiding without a boss mod. It doesn't seem to be working, so I hope it all turns out good.
Well, we're about to find out.
Just need to be extra aware, really. That's all it is.
Yep.
Because you should already know by now what to do on these bosses.
Yep.
And besides that, it's only a couple of buttons anyways. I'm pressing here, so should be no props.
Absolutely. Nasty Void Zone's on the ground right there, and we'll be looking for the fire from the air at some point in the not too distant future.
There's going to be deep breaths coming soon, which we're going to have to be dodging, and that's one of the dodgiest part of this encounter as well. You need to be aware, and there's engulfing magics happening at the same time, but
it's a little dodgy. Is there any difference in the deep breaths in this mode as opposed to normal?
No, not really.
First deep breath coming in right here, and those of you who haven't really seen a big WoW raid before, this tends to be what happens. The screen is covered in flames, panic ensues, and then people wipe, unless, of course, you happen to be Paragon. Second wave.
There's going to be breath coming to the left side now, as I can see.
Yep.
Couldn't really see the other one. I also got engulfing magic at the same time and nearly nuked the raid, but I was possible to dodge it with a goblin jump. Thanks for goblin.
Goblin's OP evidently, and there we go. That's the
engulfing magic again.
Well, you can't really complain about the damage increase. I suppose.
No. Just an extra thing to look at right here.
Yep. Thermalian taking massive damage here. He should be able to kill him after this transition, I would think.
Yeah, there's a new Valion has come down now, and it should be quite okay now.
That's a good amount of damage being done right there by everyone on the Paragon raid, everyone currently up, and of course we are now back into the first phase, dealing with the blackouts, dealing with the random raid fireballs, and of course dealing with those breaths. And now we need to deal with the sentries as well. Now the 25% right now, looking pretty good for the Paragon guys. There's the first deep breath, easily avoided. And you're into the Twilight, by the way.
Yeah, I got actually hit from the tank spot, but I got ported back up already, so it's no problem.
Yep. I believe isn't there an achievement for going into the Twilight and actually dodging, is it either dodging the crystals or collecting them?
No, there's like these little fiends which come down there.
Yeah.
And you can actually kill them there. And if you do, then, yeah.
Achievement City, folks.
Yeah.
14% HP on Valiona.
Yeah, should be all good here.
Yeah, it's looking pretty damn solid right now. Paragon guys not losing a single raider, needless to say. There's the Devouring Flames, looking to go under 11% and falling rapidly. No doubt looking to try and take him out before the next Dazzling Destruction. We're down to 8% and falling right now. So, would you say that this is a better design of a heroic encounter? Is this what you expect from heroic mode as opposed to Harvest Wormbreaker?
Well, this was quite difficult at the start. I mean, it was an encounter which people didn't just roll over. So this was quite good at the start. It was nerfed earlier. And we're not really even using the optimized tactics here. The optimized tactics is use rogues going down. We're just using random classes. But, well, yeah, it worked out, so it's okay.
Seems to be doing the job 1% and down, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. Excellent kill right there. Very, very slick, and no damage really taken by anyone. Nobody falling over, so I suppose we'll probably have to mock the first person that dies, really. So we've got some trash right here.
Now interest in trash. We'll see if someone is going to die. I hope it's not going to be me.
Yeah, these things are kind of terrifying. I'm trying to remember how much HP they have. Is it 27 million, I think?
Yeah, that money dead right there.
Yeah.
On the eruption on the ground.
Yep. Large amount of spikes pop up on the ground. If you're in that, well, you're basically dead.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
If you resist them, you can survive. Or if you're just simply a durable class, it's going to be okay.
Yep. There's the rupture. You need to dodge that. It's very, very quick timing on those.
Yep.
So you've got to be careful.
This is even a normal mode, so people coming here for the first time, I'm sure they're having some deaths.
Yep. There's the recount.
That's the damage meter from the last try.
Yep.
And that's dot classes rolling right there. 2 Warlocks, Shadow Priest, main Arcane Mage, few, so on.
Yep, 32,000 damage per second.
Yeah. Obviously, it's not really accurate either because...
Engulfing Magic would screw with it, I assume.
Yeah, and also there is people going downstairs and recount doesn't really show them that well, so...
Pushing through the trash right here, taking down the second evolved Draconar. So, here's a question for you. This is a fairly short raid. I mean, you've got 4 bosses and then 5 bosses in heroic mode when you've unlocked Sinestra. Yeah. How long does this generally take, let's just say, on your main raid to clear?
About an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Another question, I suppose, would be...
It could be less.
Yeah. Another question, I suppose, would be this. So... with the Tier 11 content, they decided they were going to present several smaller dungeons as opposed to something like Ulduar, or of course even Naxxramas, even though it was a recycled raid that are very, very large instances with 12 to 14 bosses each. Do you approve of these smaller groups?
Well, I would like the instances to rather be, I don't know how to say, but I don't really like the fact that you can choose from multiple bosses.
I suppose that really messes with the progression table quite a bit when you're looking for world firsts.
Yeah, probably.
Trash time. So, is there any variance on this trash compared to the normal mode?
No. Trash is always the same. Otherwise, we wouldn't be clearing the trash on heroic mode, as it doesn't really, doesn't really give anything.
Yeah. Let's quick clear of this one. Going to the third boss, which of course is the Council of Elements, or whatever you want to call it. The Ascended Council would be the correct name.
Yeah.
Let the rest of the raid clear that up. So, aside from the whole having to choose from multiple bosses thing, do you think that the policy of smaller raids but more of them is beneficial in general?
I think so, yeah.
I assume that spending an awful lot of time in a very, very long dungeon, even for guys like you, is tiring, certainly, and perhaps...
Well, yeah, the farm content shouldn't take that long, so rather like... Well, I don't know how to say, but farm shouldn't last longer than, like, 2-3 hours, really. Mm-hmm. I mean, we already raid enough when it's progress, so...
Yeah, the last thing you want is to spend more and more time in there.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So turning, I suppose, to the subject of the Firelands. The Firelands, as people are well aware, is actually going to be a 7-boss dungeon, and by the sounds of it, it's going to be the sole dungeon on that tier. What's your opinion on that? Do you think 7 bosses for a tier is enough?
It seems quite nice, and I don't know, really, from the bosses that we saw, it seemed quite nice. There were some new mechanics, like this one boss which you have to manually move yourself by hitting its legs. Like when you hit the left leg, it turns left, and when you hit the right leg, it turns right. And you need to, at the same time, catch some other stuff there. And that's some mechanic that hasn't really been in a boss fight yet.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. We also noticed some quite entertaining trash, these giant firebirds, which you had to aim the fireballs by jumping on its back.
Yeah, you could ride them, and you could just manually kill them. So...
Yeah, those are quite nice. The boss that I think we did the most of, in fact, was the Firebird boss, Alice Raza, which involves a couple of guys actually going airborne and flying through rings of fire.
Yeah. That was maybe the easiest boss.
Yes, definitely easiest.
Was there on. I think there was multiple guilds who even killed it on the heroic mode, so...
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a farm boss. It's kind of unfortunate because it was very entertaining, especially for the person that got to fly through the rings.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some big DBS numbers there. You get a lot of haste, and you can cast whilst moving when you're flying there in the air. So it's not bad at all.
Yeah, if you actually get enough stacks of the rings, you get a very, very nice buff.
Yeah, you get a 50% crit buff at the same time whilst having about 100% haste. So you're doing some pretty serious damage there. Our tank just died, which...
But it's okay. They gave you an epic for it.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. The tank is still standing. The bear.
Shouldn't be a problem, and that'll be a nice clean out of that, and then we'll see the Ascendant Council.
Yep, this is last trash map before it, and then we're good to go. To be honest, this is the boss where we wipe the most, I would say, and this is arguably the hardest encounter in all of the content right now.
Interesting.
So we'll see. This was especially very random when this was first introduced, because there's these frost orbs which are spawning, and they're chasing someone. And in the transition phase to the last phase, you could actually get hit by these frost orbs, and your whole raid would wipe, and there was absolutely nothing you were able to do about it. And that's now being fixed, but it took quite some time to fix this stuff.
Okay, Ascendant Council coming in right now after Cho'Gall's finished complaining about everything. So, key differences that you'd like to point out between this and the normal mode?
There is debuff spawning here in the first phase. One of them slows all the people around you, and it doesn't slow yourself, but slows all the people around you. So we basically run here to the middle, where I'm standing right now, with them to negate the debuffs negate each other when you bring both of them to the same spot. So basically, that's first phase, except also numbers, and yeah, that's about it. Then second phase, there is these frost orbs which spawn and start chasing a person. The person needs to kite these frost orbs into fire, and if he kites them into fire, then the frost disappears.
Okay, so it's basically...
And if you get hit by the frost, the whole raid wipes immediately.
Ouch.
And that's actually... We'll see how it will go for me here now, because I don't have boss mode. I will not be able to see very well when this frost orb will be chasing me. But, yeah, let's hope...
Yep.
I will be, yeah.
We'll be okay, otherwise you're going to be spectating from the floor, which is not ideal. We'll see what happens for you there. So, really, that seems like they've taken the initial mechanics of this fight, and then they've added advanced versions of them, based on what was there already.
Yeah, and also, this was very melee unfriendly at first, like really, really, really bad. But now it's been fixed now, so... It's can actually bring melee. On our first kill, we only had like 2 melee here, so I was playing my mage as well.
Mm-hmm. And there's the pop. So, how many of you in the audience have actually done this on normal mode? reasonable number, not too bad. Those of you who haven't, the way that this works is there are actually 3 phases to this. The first phase involves these 2 guys. There's the fire guy, and there is the water/ice guy. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to try and DPS them both down to a certain level, and once you hit a certain amount of health, it will switch to phase 2 and it will summon 2 different characters. You'll then have to deal with them. They have a whole new set of abilities. That's the wind and earth guys. And then once you've done the same thing to them, in phase 3, they will all appear. They will then merge together into the elemental monstrosity, which is phase 3. And that's when the panic starts. It's a big, big DPS race in that. At least it was on the normal mode. Does the elemental monstrosity do anything new?
No. It's that last phase is pretty much the same, just numbers are up quite a lot. So it's quite a big difference when it comes to that, really.
Yep. And the reason they're DPSing both equally is because the more damage you do here, the less health the monstrosity will have in phase 3.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yep, looks like you're not being chased by frost orbs, which is a good start.
No, there's no frost orbs in this phase yet, so it's all good.
Excellent. So this is the one and only fight that I can think of in recent memory where you are encouraged to stand in the fire.
Yeah, you need to go to fire when you get a debuff on you.
Yep, and if you don't do that, then
you get frozen.
Yep, horrible things happen. You get frozen. I believe you take terrible damage as well in the process.
Yeah, absolutely massive.
On heroic mode, no doubt, that will be absolutely brutal. 35 HP on the first phase, 35% in fact, and falling rapidly.